Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this Wonder Twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as Tomorrow's Legends.
Harley, I do believe if we were to take into account the measurements of each ripple of time, the distance they cover, and how long it takes for them to cement, we should be able to predict the exact start of our episode.
I concur, Flash. We must also multiply by the amount of times we have recorded and divide that by the minutes we have spoken for to be able to predict the length of each show before we even begin.
My dear Harley, you know that is a variable we simply cannot predict.
Oh yes, quite right, Dr. Flash, quite right.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
No, we didn't just write and script that now. That is a flashback to our original intro, which I thought would just be absolutely fun to play.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I don't even remember that one. At least the one you played last time, I distinctly remember recording it. That one, may as well have heard that for the first time.
Pretty much, and I think I'm going to do that just because this rewatch is fun. Let's revisit how we once did the show. I'll kick it off with all our old intros because we had fun back then. I really enjoyed doing those. We did. We had a good time. Well, let's get into this one. Welcome to yesterday's Legends. It's the OGs tonight, the originals, the old hats, the veterans, as it's just me and Harley this go around because X-Force is off on some planetary mission somewhere. So we're bringing you our look back at Season 3, Episode 4 and 5, Return of the Mack and Helen Hunt, and I'm wishing I could visit Themyscria, the Flash.
And I'm looking for some sort of time loophole. I'm Harley Quinn.
Hello, Legends.
Hello, Gideon. Gideon, are you enjoying, going on this trip through time with us?
Yes, Captain.
Oh, good. We'll have to pull out some of your old clips, too, and kind of get nostalgic with everything that we're, going through. Because it's fun.
There's lots of Gideon clips.
There is lots. I'm even looking at it all here, holy cow, there's ton. A ton. It eats up more than half of my soundboard here.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Well, let's get into this show. We just want to remind everybody that we are part of the Cybercast Network, where we cover Tomorrow's Legends of Tomorrow, which we're in a rewatch right now, and we're doing Superman and Lois currently, so we're just waiting for Season 4 to come back. And then we've also got Dive into DC with the Silverfox and Green Butterfly, who go deep into all things DC, and they're wonderful over there. Go check out their show. And then there's also The Mandalore, which is my other Star Wars show with Dee Vizsla talking currently about Ahsoka, which everybody is just loving right now. So check that out. And Cybercast, if you happen to have any more listening time in your podcast playing. I haven't done anything in a little while there. I do have a slate of movie reviews I want to do. It's just a matter of finding time. But check out Cybercast if you shall. Please. Let's get into news. I don't think we have a ton of news, but there's something we can talk about.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
So just to remind everybody, next recording will not be next week. It'll be 2 weeks from now, October 6th, where we cover episodes 7 and 8 of Season 3, which I believe is Crisis on Earth X, the crossover, right?
Yes. So refresh my memory. Am I supposed to be watching all 4 episodes of Crisis on Earth X or just this one?
Well, we're only going to talk about part 4 as a rewatch coverage, but what I was going to do was going to watch all 4 of them just to get the whole story again, because I completely forget.
I don't remember it. I know. All I remember is something about Nazis. People are not quite who they think they are. It's very heavy on Oliver Queen.
Yes. Yeah, and him being dark, or some of the characters being really dark.
Yeah, which is not, not necessarily a bad thing. I do distinctly remember why I dislike episode 8, but I will temper my anger.
For when we get there, at least.
I guess. I don't know. It's many years removed, so I know it's coming. It won't be a shock this time. So, I mean, I loved it. I think this was one of the best crossovers they ever did.
A lot of people like this one, yeah.
I got real mad when they killed off Stein. Real mad.
So, yeah, I think for our listeners and stuff, I think like I'm going to watch all 4 episodes of Crisis on Earth X, and then we'll talk about, I mean, we can just briefly talk about it, but we'll really focus on part 4, which is where Legends come into play. And, but we can talk about the overall feelings of what it was like to watch it again all these years later.
Yeah, that's probably a good plan. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I will work that into my viewing schedule. That's a lot more.
And that's probably a good thing that we have 2 weeks.
Yes, well, I'm at the beach all next week, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
I will not be watching any Legends.
Sitting on the beach with your tablet. That would be fun.
Yeah, trying to keep my kids from drowning. That'll be great. Yeah.
The other thing I just want to throw in the news section here is last week we were talking about Tala Ash and how much we missed her playing Zari 1.0. And we both wanted to, hey, what's she doing now? We should go follow what she's doing. I looked her up, and she doesn't have a single credit since Legends of Tomorrow. She hasn't done anything acting-wise.
Aw,
so
that's sad.
I don't know. I mean, it's only really been 1.5 years since it went off the air, so maybe she just hasn't landed a role, or maybe she's doing something else. I don't know. Yeah,
well, and then this writer's strike has been going on for, God, like 6 months now.
Yeah, so that also throws a wrench in the plans. But who knows? She hasn't shown up anywhere else for us to go follow.
Well, I hope she gets something because she's great.
Exactly.
As long as that's what she wants. I know some people, they have a long stint and then they decide, they're kind of done. That was what reminded me of some of the actors on Eureka did just that, because they were all at Dragon Con, and even though they weren't supposed to be talking about Eureka, just seeing them again reminded me of like who they were, and I'm like, I don't think any of you are actually doing much.
Right.
Writer's strike aside, and I think it's because they were just done. They either went into directing or kind of like went a different direction. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe she's going a different direction. I don't know. But if she is acting, I'd like to see her again.
Me too. And then looking at our backgrounds tonight, Harley, you're kind of in Sarah's lounge, the meeting area there, right? Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm actually in the library tonight. I got finally someone left a door open for me to get out of the hallway.
There we go.
I'm hanging out with Nate. Nate's just over there somewhere.
Perfect. Yeah, we didn't banish you to the hallway tonight.
Well, I'm the captain. I should have access to everything. Come on.
You were in the hallway of exposition.
Yeah, that's right. I had a lot to say last week. Well, let's get into episode 5, which is called Return of the Mack.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right, why don't you read X-Force's rating? He did manage to get some ratings and notes in here, so as we go through the show, we're going to throw in his thoughts as we come across them.
Yes, we will. Okay, so he gave this one 8.5 hip-hop battle sequences. He says, this was fun. We got a trip to the past, cool battle sequences, and character development. The introduction of Nora was great. She is so powerful, and seeing her and Damien together just set so much up for the future. I loved this ep.
Yeah.
And I concur with him, because I gave this one 9 returns to form. I thought this was a great episode. They walked the line again between the serious and the horror and the goofy and the fun very, very well. I really like how, especially in this early part of the season, they're really integrating that. It's done really well.
Yeah.
This time period is a really fun one too. The Victorian England feel, Jack the Ripper, the vampires, Sherlock Holmes. It's just all kind of mixing together, and it was just super fun. And I remember, like, what a shock it was to kind of have Damien Darhk come back and have this mystery woman, Eleanor, because as of this episode, we didn't know yet that she was Nora Darhk. So we get introduced to a lot. The threat of the impending doom with Mallus, Rip's inevitable betrayal, and the Legends kind of gaining their freedom once again. So a lot happened.
A lot did happen, yeah. I'm up there with you guys to give this one 8.5 perfectly timed dance rhythms. Okay, that fight scene to Return of the Mack at the end was absolutely priceless and the best part of the episode. And you're right, they had the right balance between the goofy and the serious here, but you can see it starting to slip a little at this point, I'm going to admit, and it kind of trickles into the next episode. But also the timing of bringing Damien back, I remember it hit us all so hard because it wasn't long before this that we saw Oliver take him down in the Arrow finale. So they wrote the shock factor in really well. I mean, unfortunately, all these years later, without the drama of the other shows all playing along with each other, without that playing into it, this reaction didn't happen. It wasn't as strong for me this time around because it's just like if I had
we knew it.
Yeah, we knew it coming, but because we had back in those years, we had just watched the Arrow finale and some time had passed and then he comes back and we're all like, what? So yeah, it just doesn't play that way this time, but it still was pretty cool to remember how it once was. And then introducing Nora here was also a big surprise, as I don't think we ever knew he had a daughter until this point, until he says my daughter in this episode. I don't think any of us knew he ever had one, did we?
No, and he doesn't say it till the next episode either.
Oh,
he talks about it.
Okay.
It's in Helen Hunt. Yeah.
Right.
So we're kind of they run together.
They run together. Yeah. Because I watched them back to back. So, but this was a fun episode with a good bit of horror thrown in for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into our talking points for it.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
Well, let's talk about the intro because X-Force was talking about how Rip and this was a very Rip-centered episode, and he kind of comes in, opening the episode playing Sherlock Holmes. Like, we didn't really know what was going on because that girl was all scared and running. And I immediately think, oh, Jack the Ripper, that's right. And then it's not, it's Rip. But
yeah,
when Rip comes in here, it made me realize that, once he shows up, that we haven't had him in the last couple episodes. I didn't even realize he wasn't here. And then what that tells me is that I'm not really missing him at all. And again, like you mentioned in your rating with his inevitable betrayal, that's why. His character was just always a letdown. I know you like to defend him. I'm finding in this rewatch for season 3, I'm just like, no, you know what? I'm done with Rip. Like, he had a great run in season 2, playing the duality stuff, but we'll talk about him a little bit more as we go on. But yeah, when he popped in, I was like, I totally forgot that he was even going to be in the season. Don't really care.
Yeah, no, I remembered he was in this season for sure, but I didn't remember a lot of the details. So, like, as we kind of go through this section, we can all call out some of that stuff. But I liked that, he was kind of playing Sherlock Rip, hunting for vampires, back in Victorian England. It was funny. It was out of character for Rip. Like, he seemed really into it, which kind of like, I was kind of taken aback by it. I didn't remember or think that like Rip Hunter who seems to be more like buttoned up, a bit more serious, was having so much fun in this episode. So he was just like he felt really into it to me. So I kind of liked getting to rewatch that and like see him living out this whole like Sherlock vibe, like even down to like the things that he was saying. He's like, the game is afoot, and like stuff like that. It just made me laugh.
Yeah, no, you got a good point there. I think for me, it's just where they almost try to introduce, this could be a fun part of Rip. Like, they try to introduce, look at he's nerding out about something, but the betrayal, and then it's his body language. I was noting that this episode, he's always hunched over and his head sloped down. He's like, woe is me. Kind of has that body language, and they keep making him a loser. And that's kind of what makes me not like him, because he just never was tough. He never stood up and was tough and wanted to do what's right. And there's just something about him. They always just made him like, come on, he's a loser, and I just can't like that about him. So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe made him a little too cowardly.
Cowardly, that's a good word for it. Yeah, which I don't appreciate. I don't like cowards. So
I get that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We have this part. So this was really interesting. Where they're like walking, through the whole town, and Nate is was this the part where, no, this isn't the part where Nate was being followed, but that was super creepy. This is the part where they're like going into the graveyard. Oh, they're trying to find the vampires, and Mick has like his stake and all of that stuff. Okay. So what they ended up finding is Rip in the grave, which caught me off guard because I really did not remember that at all. And he like kind of is like, okay, I'm rogue. I need your help. I'm off kind of like fighting this evil bad demon that I'm not really going to tell you what it is. And like kind of basically pulls the legends in and says, Time Bureau, no, like it's fine. I'm going to work with the legends on this one, I guess. I don't know. It was kind of like a weird way that he went about it because he was kind of off doing his own thing, but he was able to keep the legends from getting in trouble. I don't know. That part confused me a little bit.
Yeah. I think watching it in this rerun, it was kind of strange to me because the first few episodes where we see him, he's like, the last 5 years, I built the Time Bureau. I've got Ava. I've got all these serious agents. The Time Bureau is where it's at. We're picking up your mess. And then he's gone for a couple episodes, and now he just shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm rogue, and I'm doing this on my own. Shh, I'm here. Help me out, please. I'm like, that doesn't jive with how they introduced you this season.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
So well,
like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's a different vibe.
Yeah. So and I think that's what it just made it hard to stick with me. I was like, I don't know. Even though later in the episode, him and Sara kind of like, oh, this is fun. And she goes, yeah, well, I'm glad you're having fun again, and we'll help you out. But, then he betrays him at the end there. And we'll get to those points, but it's just, I don't know. But this part in the graveyard, I thought was fun because this was the good part of the horror vibes. They're lurking around a graveyard at night. I mean, that's spooky stuff. And they're all on edge. They're all scared. And, Ray's like, we should separate. And they're like, no, we should probably stick together. Like, haven't you guys ever watched any horror movies? Like, it was spooky. And then when Rip pops out of the grave, I mean, I think we all jumped. Everybody jumped when that happened. This episode built up the jump scares pretty good.
Yeah, it did, for sure.
But like X-Force was saying in his notes here, Rip giving him the scoop on Mallus and how he's been recruiting through all of time and trying to build his army or who knows what. Like, Rip was just going in, he's the greatest evil of all time, and oh my god, the world's never seen anything like this before, and he's so powerful. And this was what I was talking about last week. I was like, see what I mean? They were really pumping the Mallus train hard already, 5 episodes in, about how big of a threat he's going to be. And I want to see how it gets to that point, because I just remember it never paying off. Mallus does not pay off.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we differed on this opinion, and I know we both equally disliked the defeat of Mallus, but I can't remember about like the threat level. I mean, I know they build it up throughout this whole season, and it's the big thing that kind of looms over us, and we get some like pretty spooky stuff with it throughout the season. But I can't remember what the letdown is for you, and if I really felt let down by it at that point. Other than the Bebo stuff, yes. But
I think it's just,
I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch to see how this season goes.
Because in my memory, all I remember is a hole in the ground opening up and this demon flying out of it, and he flies around the sky, throws a couple spitballs, and then Bebo happens. And I'm like, really? The entire season built up to this demon flapping around a little bit? Like, nothing ever happened with him. That's what I remember, so I'm hoping there's more to it.
Yeah, well, there's a sacrifice at one point. Rip dies, Damien dies.
But
everybody
Mallus
dies.
Was never there, though. Like, he never appears until the very end.
No, and and he's like a big, like, flying dragon. Because that's the whole thing. Like, you can't see him in his mortal form or whatever. Nora spouts it off at some point throughout this episode. But,
I think I even remember you and me starting to feel let down as the season went on originally. We were starting to go, where is he? Where's this leading to? Why hasn't he shown yet? I think I remember us kind of being a little bit like, this season's starting to lose its grip. Like, what's... But we'll have to see. We'll see how. I mean, I think we were talking off air. We were saying that it seems like we're enjoying it more during this rewatch.
Yeah.
Than we did the first time, because when you look at our old ratings and stuff, we didn't rate some of these episodes very well, and we're rating them better now.
Yeah, we're definitely rating most of these higher. The only ones where we differ slightly are actually this episode and the next one, but not by, for me, not by a lot. For you, it's a little bit, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So,
but like we were talking off air, though, I love that we're watching it now with an enjoyment, and I think the reason is because you and me started the show because, first of all, superhero based, because we came from Arrow, and a superhero based show, but it was going to be all revolving around time travel and sci-fi, and you and me both love that so much, so we took the show on, so excited with the time travel, and the first 2 seasons were all about time travel and jumping around and doing all that kind of stuff, and we loved it. And then this season is when the goofiness started to come into play, and they started introducing new concepts and steering away from the time travel and the sci-fi aspect of it. And back then, you and me did not appreciate that, and we were very upset about it, and we started rating it lower and lower and lower. But then come back now all these years later, and we know what's coming, and we know that the show gets goofy, and that's what their intent was, and that's what their plan was, or the road they decided to take, because it seemed to be the successful one. Now we're watching it from a different light, knowing it's going to be goofy, and I think that's why we're enjoying the goofy elements this early on better.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, and I feel like they were just done a little bit better this early on than they were in later seasons, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe I'd feel different about the others on a rewatch, but we'll have to see.
Maybe. Well, I mean, so far we're 6 episodes in, and they still have the enjoyable elements of the Legend show. Like, they're still going to time periods.
Yeah.
They're still trying to disguise themselves into that time period, and we spent a whole episode in that time period. And, you know, like the budget and the story really reflected that, and that's what was enjoyable back here, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right. Well, we have like one final point here on Rip. We've kind of talked about some of this stuff, but we didn't really talk about like the scene at all. So, I mean, were you surprised? I mean, obviously we're not surprised now because we knew what was coming, but I remember being very surprised that Rip still had some secret commands left in the Waverider, where he just kind of calls it out, and Gideon goes with it, which I'm not sure like I fully understand because he's not the captain, but she's like, yes, Director Hunter. So I thought that was interesting.
It's like overriding commands that are above a captain's status or whatever.
I guess.
Yeah. So because I think this comes up a couple times that he brings in these commands somewhere along these early seasons. He has these couple commands because I'm trying to remember when he gave the leadership over to Sara. He never really said, "Hey, here's all my command codes," or anything. He just kind of said, "Hey, it's your ship now. You run the team. I got other things to do." Like it just he never gave her access to everything.
No, and he claims this is the last one. We'll have to see if that plays out over the course of this season, because he doesn't come back after this season. So
that's right.
But yeah, I mean, I mean, I know that he has those, but yeah, it was just kind of funny to see that happen again, and they're all kind of like scrambling, trying to figure out how to get around it.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I didn't remember at all. I mean, we sort of touched on this, that Rip had gone rogue in this episode, that he was off on like his own crusade. I feel like that character worked better when he had his own crusade, because that's just kind of like how they wrote him. He was kind of like selfish and all about himself and all about his mission.
Yeah, because the first season was about him saving his wife and kid.
Exactly.
Selfish mission.
And then the second season he wasn't himself. He, so he didn't have a crusade, and then now he kind of has one again. And so I think it works. It works for the character, but as Sara points out, there's an inevitable betrayal in all of that. So.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you that his being on his own in command of a time ship kind of suits his character a little bit more than leading a entire police force, I think, because of what I said earlier, where he is cowardly. I don't think a coward can lead a team of, or like a police force or an FBI type of agency. I don't think a coward can lead that, and that's why Ava really is the one to take over and be in command of that place because she's got leadership skills. Rip never did.
Yeah, well, and even she's not top level. I mean, Bennett, it's Director Bennett, who runs the show.
Yeah.
So, like, even though Rip founded the Bureau, he didn't even put himself in charge, which I thought was interesting because I forgot about this Bennett guy, that he was ranked higher than Rip. I did not remember he was ranked higher than Rip.
Which is just weird. If you create
when
it,
we met
you should be the end all.
Not always. I mean, I know a lot of people that have founded their own companies, but they're not the CEO. They're still very important to the organization, but they're not the ones that run the company, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that sort of sums it up with Rip. You're already yawning. Not a good sign. Usually that's me.
No, I know. I don't know. I'm tired today.
Switch places. I know.
Go on.
No, it's okay. So I've sort of kind of reorganized some of this into like main character points, and then we kind of have like the main plot at the very end of this. So I jumped the gun and called this Stein in this episode, even though that doesn't happen until the next episode. But this is all about like Ray and Jax and working behind Stein's back, as we find out. But they're working together because they're trying to like split Jax and Stein apart so that Jax can be Firestorm full time and Stein can retire and go live out his days with his grandchild and his daughter. And I'm not gonna let it go, y'all. I'm not gonna let it go. But anyways, of course, there's side effects to all these experiments, and I just got a little chuckle every time Jax kind of forgot where he was or how someone got there, because all of a sudden he just goes, "Rip, where did you come from?" Which is literally what all of us were thinking.
And having Ray having to babysit him too was kind of funny. Like Ray kept trying to cover for him, and he's not a good cover. Like,
no, he's terrible. He can't lie.
There's so many parts in here. It's like, yeah, Rip, where did you come from? Where does anybody come from? Well, you see, you have a mother and you have a father, and it's just like, oh my God, Ray.
I know.
you're not good at this.
He's so not. But yeah, they disappear. Speaking of which, to call Team Arrow to figure out what was going on. I forgot about these little one-off crossovers that we get here and there
with our side characters.
Yeah, I know. Well, because they call Curtis.
Yeah.
And find out the fingerprint is from Damien Darhk. And of course, this reveal happens at almost exactly the same time that Sara sees his face. So we talked about this. I remember this to be very surprising because we had just killed him off in the previous season of Arrow, and after he dies, we encounter him in Legends Season 2, and then have to put him back in the timeline because Sara talks to Zari about that.
Yeah, because in Season 2 of Legends, they went back in time, which is where he was before he died. Yeah, so...
Yeah, he was the Damien Darhk that had not yet made it to 2016.
Yes.
So they had to put him back so that they didn't completely derail history.
Yeah.
So that he basically has to go on to kill Laurel. And so, and that was like a whole huge thing. So, yeah, I remember, I mean, we were surprised because they had killed him off and then they had not killed him off, but basically like put him back on his path toward death. And now that we're in 2017, we're solidly past his death date.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, which is what is cool about all of this. Like it's only Curtis that shows up, but even these little drop-ins from other shows is what really kept our Arrowverse connected back then, because they did this a lot.
Yeah. They did. It was hard to do, but they did it.
Yeah, but everything felt cohesive, everything felt connected, and that's why everyone was pumping this Arrowverse as like, wow, this is unprecedented in TV history that something like this was happening. So
yeah,
it was just cool, and I think you and me enjoyed this, that they brought Damien back, because this still made us really think, like you just did, having to explain how does the timelines work with all of this. And
I know it gets a little crazy,
but we loved breaking that stuff down, so it was good, it was cool. And I think I remember here too, didn't they also, when they found the fingerprint of Damien, didn't Curtis also say there's a fingerprint of Oliver Queen as well.
Yes.
Which we were
Makes
all
sense.
like, what?
At the time, but then thinking back on it, he killed Damien Darhk. So if he was wearing that watch when he died, makes sense that Oliver's fingerprint may have got on it at some point.
If he grabbed it or something, yeah, who knows? So.
Either, I mean, during battle, I don't think he wears gloves. Does he wear gloves? I don't remember. I don't think he does. But even if he did, I mean, maybe he did like handle the body after the fact or touched the body. I don't know. It felt, because Oliver's the one that killed him, it felt plausible to me that the print would be on there. But I do remember that being like, what? Why?
Exactly.
What in the world?
Yeah,
I think we all thought it would be Oliver, and then it turns out that it was Damien Darhk. So
yeah. Still pretty cool.
Yeah.
This episode really tied a lot together. It was pretty well done.
Yeah, no, for sure. So the other point we have here is that, I mean, Stein eventually finds out. I mean, he knows that they're being super suspicious, Ray and Jax, and so he eventually finds out what's going on, and that, you know, he's rightfully upset that they kind of went and did this behind his back. I mean, but then in the end, he agrees to help Jax because he wants to be with his grandkid as well. He's over it. I mean, we see in the next episode how tough it really is on him, all the stuff that he's kind of hiding on the inside that he's not, you know, necessarily like sharing with the team, that like Jax gets to experience. And so I don't know, like this whole storyline just, it was okay. It was just a kind of predictable drama. I mean, I feel like anybody would be upset by this. You're trying to make some big major life decision and it's kind of like done behind your back. But at the same time, Jax is like trying to work towards a solution and then I think like surprise him with it, thinking that he would be like grateful to be able to like not have to be stuck with him. So I don't know, like I see it from both angles, but I'm just glad they moved past it quickly because it just felt like drama for drama's sake.
Yeah. Yes, it was there because I don't think they had anything else to do with it, but it still gave a good story for Stein and Jax to have to work through together because it's kind of it's a tough thing. You got two characters that are psychically linked. How do you continue writing for that? Because
I know
it's tough. Like because Stein is not an action hero. He's too old. He can't do anything. So it's, you know, how often can you count on him for his scientific knowledge? Like I don't think Stein could have lasted 7 seasons as a full integral character to the show. I don't think there would have been enough there for him.
No, my beef is not that they wrote him off the show. My beef is that they killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
They should have split him and Jax up, even like, because ultimately I think they get to the point where the only way to split them up is to cure them. Yeah, because I think that's the point that we get to, and I would have been fine still getting to that point to split them up if it means Stein gets to retire. Yeah. I think it was a bad choice to kill him. Even Victor Garber was upset that his character was killed because there's no opportunity for him to come back, and he would have.
Yeah. But here's inherently the problem with the character of Firestorm, though, is you forcefully tie two characters up together.
Yep.
You know, they're bonded at the hip, bonded at the soul, and so when they decide, okay, we got nothing left for Stein. Well, once you get rid of him, and we experience this, and I'm sure we're going to talk about when we get to it, but it made Jax useless too, because Jax can't do anything on his own. So if Firestorm had been a single character superhero all along, then we would have been just fine with one guy playing the part. But you rip that away from Jax, and now he becomes useless really quick, and they had to write him off the show too, because what else are you going to do with him? You can't just have a ship's mechanic walking around. Like, I guess they could have created a whole new identity for him, like a super suit or something, but it just didn't work.
No, it didn't. And I mean, yeah. Well, we'll talk about that at the end of the season, because he'll disappear for a while because, you know, I mean, I distinctly remember the episode where he leaves. So
yeah, me too. And Firestorm too. I think we talked about even then. Firestorm is too overpowered for this show anyway.
Yes, we've talked about that before.
Like,
all of I think I just said that in my head.
Yeah. Because all of our characters are not. I mean, Rory has no powers. Sarah's just a hand-to-hand combatant. Okay, Nate steals up, sure. You know, and Ray's in his Atom suit, but none of them are really overpowered. Like, none of them. Even Amaya with her animal things, like, she could easily be overthrown or beaten in a fight. So
yeah, and Zari
Firestorm?
too. She just has like a wind power.
Yeah.
It's not the same as a nuclear powered superhero.
So like Firestorm having nuclear, like the power of the sun at his fingertips and all that, it was too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah, it was too much. But
to your point though about Stein agreeing to help and all that, the one thing that I realized when I was watching this the second time around is I found it odd that Stein didn't pick up on the deception through their psychic connection, because Jax is being all sneaky and hush hush and don't tell Stein and I'm going to work with. They feel each other in everything, and we've seen that. Oh, I know when you're going to the bathroom. I know when you're kissing a girl. I know, like, they feel everything. So if Jax is being sneaky and being, trepidatious and sneaking around, Stein would be like, hey, what's going on? Why are you being all anxious about stuff? Like, he would feel that. So I found it kind of weird that it just felt off to me. Like, he should have actually suspected something was up.
I think he did. He just needed time to catch them in the act, was sort of my read on it. Okay. I definitely think he was suspicious. He's like, what's going on with you two? Like, I don't think he was really buying it, but like, he could tell that he could tell there was something going weird, but he needed more time to basically like catch them.
Right.
And so I think at the end when he walks in, like, that was finally like his opportunity to catch him in the act, so to speak.
Okay. All right.
But also, I mean, during part of it, I mean, at one point the psychic link was actually severed, which I assume Stein's too preoccupied with everything else, like with his family, to like really notice that. But because Jax is like, I'm not craving grapefruit, I don't feel like I have to pee. Like, like he noticed things. So I feel like had Stein been paying attention at that point, he would have realized the same things.
Yeah, that's true.
But he didn't, because I think he's too preoccupied. But I think he knew something was up with them. And he was just it just took the whole episode before he could catch them in the act.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
That's just my read. But.
No, I agree. I'm with you.
Cool. Okay. Well, Amaya and Zari. So this is kind of a short little bit. We have Zari, who gets to learn the rules of time travel, which is a very sad revelation for her, because what good is a time ship when you can't actually change history?
True.
And save your family.
Yeah, but we all have to admit that I think we would think and want to do similar things if we had a time ship. Go back and fix things, help your family, make yourself rich, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's that first time travel dilemma every character has to learn. And we've talked about it every single season because they keep introducing a new character that has to learn the same lesson. And I know as the seasons went on, we got very tired of it year after year. With each new character they would shoehorn into the show. Oh, here comes the time travel story again. Why can't I fix this? Why can't I do that? Like, it got tiring. Early on, it was fine. Like, watching Zari struggle with it, I still appreciate it. Even the second time around, I was like, oh yeah, like, for her, it's a big deal. Why can't I go save my brother? That's all I've been trying to do is to help him, and I feel so guilty that I couldn't, and now I have the chance to do it. Why won't you guys let me? And that whole discussion with her and Sarah's like, hey, you mean like a sister? I couldn't save my sister. And that really, I think, brought them both to the same level together of understanding. Like, oh, you couldn't save your sister. You had to let her die. Oh man. And so I love that relatability between the two of them, that they have that, as much as it sucks, tragic story, but it allowed them to, understand each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I agree. Yeah. Well, so they've both got these totems that are connecting, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, all of the totems are kind of interconnecting. They're powering up because they're banding together to basically defeat Mallus. And so even though we didn't know it then, this is setting up the intersection of these storylines eventually down the road. Because right now they seem a little bit separate, a little bit distinct, but it all ends up kind of like attempting to come together. And I personally think they dropped the ball by the end of the season on the totems, but I don't know. We'll see how I feel by the end of it this time around.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff really loved the Amaya and Zari scenes this episode, and I had actually totally forgotten about this friendship since it ends with this season, because both of these characters, well, Zari is still around for another season, but Amaya's gone after this season. Yeah. And so, I mean, the actress sticks around, but she becomes a completely different character, as you know,
Charlie. Yep.
We'll talk about. Yeah. And so I had kind of forgotten that they even had this like friendship or like bond or whatever, and so that was cool. I agree. I kind of liked those scenes.
I'm with you. I totally forgot. I forgot all about the totem storyline and what it all means. I forgot everything about the totem. So I don't know if that's a good thing because so much time has passed, or is it a bad thing because it's like you just said, they dropped the ball. It didn't really carry all the way through like it should have. So we'll have to see as we go through how we feel.
I know it had a lot more potential, but I really liked the totem storyline the first time around, so I think that's why I remember more about it. It stuck with me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, shall we dive into? We've kind of got like our main section. Mm-hmm. I called it vampires. Oh my! I didn't know what else to do with this section. It opens with, well, I'm going to open it. The show doesn't really open this way, but with Mick reading Dracula, and he has his wooden stake ready to go, and he could not be more thrilled to be hunting a vampire, and I loved that. I thought it was kind of adorable. I loved the little touches and nods that we're getting in these early seasons about there being more to Mick than meets the eye. I mean, he's reading a book. We know in a later season he becomes an author. So there's just, with his little reading glasses, I love the reading glasses.
I know. And it's because Mick, like, the only Mick we've known up to this point is the rough and tough criminal. And he's tough, and he doesn't like anybody, doesn't want anything to do with anybody. Like he's just Mick the big a-hole basically, and they're, like I keep saying, they're opening him up little by little, and having him reading and wearing the glasses, it just gives you this touch of an intellectual side to Mick that you just never expected, because he just seemed like a brute.
Yes.
And yet he, through little tidbits like this, and through him in later seasons, we see him understand all of the crew members and the ship, and he starts offering advice, and Sarah's like, "Whoa, good idea, Mick." Like, they started really showing how intelligent he really is, and that he understands everything around him. He just doesn't care to be a Nate or a Ray type of character. He still just wants to enjoy life the way he does.
Yeah, no, he becomes very insightful toward the end.
Yeah.
Which is why it was a shame when they really, I mean, he's not have a lot of screen time in these episodes, but he has boatloads of screen time compared to what he will get in later seasons.
Yeah. But
which
the screen time he does get, everything's important though.
It is. And it makes sense, and it falls in with the storyline, and it's not this random weird side storyline.
Yep.
With an alien. Anyway. We'll get to that eventually, or maybe not. Let's chat about Nate for a second here, because Nate gets to use his history skills and be Professor Nate instead of like broed out whatever Nate. So he's mapping out these patterns. They're leading him to vampire attacks in 1895, and I just had to laugh about this entire scene, because he has this very like manic energy about him, because he hasn't slept in I don't know how long, because apparently it's Tuesday and he hasn't showered in a week or something crazy. Yeah. So the scene, it kind of, I think this is one of the more like opening scenes, and it just kind of made me laugh.
Well, it's Nick Zano, like I said, enjoying his character still. Giving it his all, putting so much energy into just playing and having fun. And like we keep saying, smart Nate here. All the history bits all organized and figured out, and he's so proud of it, and he wants to show off to Sarah, look what I figured out. This season, I think, was when he was at his best, when he reached the pinnacle of what his character was going to be, until they let it get derailed. Like that, I think this was Nate at his best. Yeah,
I agree. He has some good moments in, I think, season 7. He had some good moments.
Yeah,
All of
well,
our
again,
characters had some good moments.
Season 7 brings everything back around finally.
It does.
Yeah. So
minus those weird bots and his Schwarzenegger. That was weird. That was just weird. Anyways, yeah, I liked him in this scene quite a lot.
Yep.
Okay, this is going to start jumping around a bit. I'm really sorry. I'm going to try to keep up, but here we go. We're going to jump to Return of the Mack, which is still stuck in my head. Every time I say it, it gets re-stuck in my head. And so this ends up playing on the watch that leads the team to find out what's really going on from the coroner, because they had no idea what was happening.
No, so this is when they're all undercover pretending to be police or Scotland Yard and
the NYPD.
The NYPD, which is weird. I'm thinking, did they know about the New York police way back then? I wasn't so sure about the history there, but they're undercover and the doctor's like, I don't know if I believe this. And then the watch goes off and it's such a funny moment because they're like 100 years back in time and that song starts playing when they're trying to be in disguise for the time period. The looks on all of their faces, they're all looking like trying to blame each other with their eyes. What? And it turned out to be none of them. It's the doctor that has the watch. And it's just so funny. Oh my God. They were so good at the situational humor on this show back then. And that's my favorite type of humor. Situational. No. So.
And it was, that's true. It was really great. Well, I like how she asked them which of them brought a phone, which always begs the question. When they forget and bring their phone, why is it working 100 years in the past when there is zero cell service?
Exactly. Yeah, that was one of the sticking points. Like, what? No, it shouldn't work.
No internet. No cell service.
Exactly.
Why would there... I mean, I guess it could be an alarm like it was on the watch, but still, I was just like, that always bothers me.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways. So this was the creepy scene that I was talking about when they use Nate as bait.
Nate as bait.
And, yeah, I know. It rhymes. I'm sorry. It was not intentional. Anyways, yeah, he's like, walking all through the thing, and then he ends up running into Sir Stein, a long-lost relative of Martin Stein, which was quite funny. So
I forgot about that.
I forgot about it too.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Wait, I don't remember this.
Why is he being so creepy? What the heck?
Yeah, I was like, why is he acting so weird? Yeah, so that's who ends up, him and his henchmen end up capturing Nate, and ultimately they're going to use his blood to resurrect their master during the eclipse because they're occult nutjobs, basically.
Yep, which there was a lot of back then in these different time periods. But the ancestor of Stein, like, I remember that taking us by surprise too. I remember discussing that even though we may like a character from the here and now, like our current roster characters, doesn't mean that they've all come from great backgrounds and great family history and good ancestry. So I think having Stein, the goody-goody professor, have an evil ancestor was just a great story point, because you would think Stein would come from a long line of snobby, smart people that think they're better than everyone else. That's what I would imagine. Yeah. But yet here's his great-grandfather who is a ruthless killer, like serial killer, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. So, kind of fun.
Which was really funny.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, that took a turn. Okay. So he was like, yeah, he was an actor. He was very eccentric. I'm like, you have no idea.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
Oh, the things you don't know about family. So funny. All right, well, we get introduced to Madame Eleanor this episode, a.k.a. Nora Darhk, and she calls out Zari as being the skeptic in the room, which was really interesting. And then she ends up speaking to Zari in her brother's voice, using, names and events that clearly only Behrad would actually know. And
I remember why I was even confused here. I was like, was that really Behrad? Or was it just Mallus using Nora and trying to trick Zari? And I was still confused. I'm like, that can't actually be Behrad, because they're way back in time and he doesn't die until the future. So there's no way that she could connect with his dead self when at this point in time he's not dead yet, right? So it has to be Mallus knowing who Zari is and tricking, because according to Rip, Mallus is everywhere at all times and knows everything. So he must be tricking Zari here for whatever reason.
Yeah, and he's out of time. So he kind of sits like outside of time. So I agree, since he knows all things at all times and when they've occurred, I think he's emulating Behrad on purpose. I mean, since he knows everything, can see everything, he knows exactly what happened.
Yes.
So I don't think Behrad is speaking it directly to him. It's definitely like a Mallus trick. It just is just confusing to me, because we know that Nora Darhk, now we know that Nora Darhk is actually like a real witch, and she's also kind of like possessed by Mallus. They have this like weird connection, and at some point that connection will transfer to Sara, if I recall correctly.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But it's just like this whole like weird thing, and I can't remember, like, is she like using her own powers to connect to him, or is he kind of more or less possessing her and channeling like through her? That's the bit I can't remember, and I know it'll be explained like throughout the rest of the season, but but I'm with you. I definitely think it was a trick, because they wanted the totem. They're trying to get the totems.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
but Nora here, I remember now that I thought the Nora character was almost as good as Zari and Ava. Like, you've got Courtney Ford playing her, and she was so good. And I think they missed an opportunity to really use her, because they never really gave the Nora character time to develop her as much as they gave Zari and Ava to develop over the course of the season. Because, I mean, Nora, they introduce her, and she's a big part of the season, but then she kind of disappears, and she only shows up like every 5 or 6 episodes. So they never gave her the screen time to develop the character, and I thought she was so great. And the episodes that she got, Courtney Ford just ran away with her performance and played her so well, and it's just a shame. I think Nora could have been up there with Zari and Ava, and we would have had, and Sara, we would have had this quadruple threat of women characters that just were amazing.
Yeah, and it's a shame they wrote the two of them off the show.
Yeah. Because she was so good, and it's all because of Courtney Ford's performance. I mean, she was so entertaining. When she becomes the fairy godmother and all, like, just all of that stuff. Like, she was so much fun.
Yeah, no, she was great with no matter what they threw at her, for sure.
Yeah. But fans of Courtney Ford, if you enjoy the actress, she is doing something right now. She is on The Rookie Feds, which is the spin-off show of The Rookie with Nathan Fillion. The Rookie Feds is all about a rookie federal agent, and Courtney Ford plays one of the bosses on that show. She's not in every episode, but she pops up and she basically tells everybody what to do and then leaves. So
nice.
But she's pretty good at the boss character. I don't think it's a stretch for her to play, but at least she's there. You can enjoy her.
At least she's working. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I also forgot, and I think we brought it up before, like Zari and her powers back then, they really let it slide off the point of relevancy that she actually had powers with that air totem. Because here we see her at the end of the episode when she's trying to get the totem back. She basically just reaches for it, a la Luke Skywalker using the Force to get his lightsaber back to his hand. She grabs the air totem and whoosh, it flies into her hand. I was like, man, they really let her powers fall by the wayside as the years went on. Because she never did anything like that anymore.
No, but I think that, she was basically like reclaiming it, because she had kind of renounced it, right? She like gave it away or whatever. And then she was like, no, like it's mine. And she like really like felt it and believed it. And so I think the totem knew like where it should be, like who it should be with, like whose ancestry it belongs to, if you know what I mean. So because it's supposed to be passed down through people's families. So I think by her claiming her birthright, that's why it like came back to her.
Okay.
And she was never put in a situation like that, I don't think, over the next rest of the seasons, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, nobody came after the totem anymore. It was just her. So,
yeah.
Put on that ISIS outfit and be a superhero, damn it.
There you go.
Now, speaking of the totem, though, is Nora afraid of the totems? Because she's a witch with dark magic. But we see here when Zari gets the totem back, Nora looks really scared. She's like, oh crap, and runs away from it. So, are the totems more powerful than her magic? Why would she be scared of it?
I don't know. I'm not sure this ends up tracking, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it was a convenient plot point, but I'm not sure it actually tracks.
Okay.
Because I agree with you. I don't know that necessarily should have happened.
Yeah.
I feel like she could have stood toe to toe to her, especially knowing that Zari doesn't really know how to use the totem very well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe because she had a different objective, it was just a good time for her to leave. I don't know. It just seemed odd.
I don't know. Well, let's get to the last scene of the episode, which is our last point of this discussion.
It is, yes. So we get this really cool fight sequence set to a Return of the Mack. Just been stuck in my head for hours now. But as usual, the legends manage to save the day in a very messy way. But then, of course, we lose track of the Darks because they have the magic time travel stone. So,
when did that pop up again? Because I don't know if we ever got an explanation how the heck that works. How do you have a time travel stone?
I think it has something to do with I thought it had something to do with Kuasa, but I don't think it does. It's got to do with either Damien or Nora's magic powers. I do think they explain it later this season. There is a point where they specifically explain what it does. We don't know right now what it is that they're traveling through time. But I think we start to put the pieces together when they conveniently show up in 1937 next episode.
Right.
Without missing a beat.
Yeah, because they used the rock here to disappear. I'm like, what? And we, like you said, we saw Kuasa use it as well. So I was like, what is that thing? Like, everybody just seems like there's all these different ways to time travel. You got the Waverider, you got the time watches, and now you got a stone. Like, it's like,
yep.
If time travel is that easy, why don't we have it so you and me can actually go time traveling and make a podcast about it?
There we go. And try not to screw up history while we did it. Yeah.
No stepping on butterflies.
Very nice. But anyways, that aside, I did love this scene. I thought it was an absolute ton of fun. I feel like it's probably something we would have disliked in the past, but looking back, I can definitely appreciate it more because I'm conditioned for Legends to be goofy.
I'd be curious if we didn't like it back then. I don't remember because I watched it this time and I loved it. Like I said in the beginning, the timing of all the music cues was spot on. I mean, Dark wagging his finger to the of the music, it was perfect. And the timing of all the hits and to the beats of the song, I mean, it was so well put together. And I laughed. I was laughing. It was my favorite scene by far, and I would use it as my favorite scene if we could use visuals for favorite scenes.
I know. I really would have liked to do that for a favorite scene too, but it doesn't play out well. Not only that, Harley, like we could use the sound clip, but I tried loading up, if you guys have watched our videos on the YouTube channel, I tried loading in the video clips and it immediately gets flagged as copyright content. Oh yeah.
Even though they're only 10 to 30 seconds long, some of them are a minute long, but it flags them right away and it shuts it down. So, but it allows the sound clip version of it for some reason.
I mean, it's fine. We'll just play. I mean, it's for critique, so maybe that's the loophole. Yeah. As long as we're critiquing it, I think it falls within fair use.
We're critiquing the video clip. We're not playing an entire episode.
I know.
Other YouTubers use it all the time. I don't understand. You watch other YouTubers, they've got clips of the Avengers, they got clips of Mission Impossible, they got everything in there in their videos, and they're nobodies. How do they get away with it?
Maybe it's just this content. I mean, the WB is known as a company to be very litigious.
Maybe. I mean, it flags the fact that I use the Legends of Tomorrow theme music. It flags that, but it still allows it to play. It says your podcast cannot be played in certain countries. And I look at the list of countries, and it's like Nigeria and Gowanda and all these crazy countries that I doubt even have podcasts in them yet. Like, okay, why is our content not allowed there? Like, whatever, but it plays fine, so.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
But anyway, it was so well put together, this fight scene. I just loved it. And then the other point I wanted to bring here, which we didn't talk about, is Sara, when she's talking to Stein, and they're in a very deep conversation, and she's saying that being resurrected didn't turn out so well. Because I forgot how much weight she's still carrying at this point. Because she hasn't forgiven herself yet. I don't think we've gotten that scene where she sits down on the couch with Laurel yet, and Laurel says, "You got to get past this. It's okay that I'm not there."
Yeah, I think it's coming this. Yeah, and I think it comes this season.
Yeah, so I just remember this scene having so much weight. Like I didn't realize Sara was struggling this much with being alive and her sister's not.
Yeah,
it's not fair that she gets resurrected.
Well, because from her perspective, I mean, Laurel just died.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's tough.
Good stuff. Well, that is it for Return of the Mack, except we got favorite scenes. Let's play some favorite scenes.
Shape out an eagle!
So I'm going to kick it off right off the beginning, the opening few minutes. This is when Nate introduces what the mission is about and all the vampires, and Mick's in the background loving it, and he pulls out the stake, and it just, that whole sequence I just loved. So much fun.
Yes.
Here it is.
Say the anachronisms form a pattern.
Should have guessed. Though time may be broken, like all matter in the known universe, it still possesses a mathematical harmony.
Not exactly. What about those two? Those two are outliers. First one, Seattle, 2042.
When the assassin tried to kill me.
Right, while cool, not the part where, you almost got killed. It's not as cool as the other one. London, 1895. How do I say this? There's the vampire. Half dozen men snatched off the streets, only to have their bodies dumped 3 days later, completely drained of blood.
Vampires. Waited my whole life to kill one.
Do you just carry that around all the time?
My whole life. There's no such thing as vampires. Increased immigration of the fin de siècle and the fear that good English women would lose their virtue to foreign predators is responsible for these ludicrous stories.
I say we go see what's so interesting about this anachronism.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. I think my favorite part is that Mick just pulls out the wooden stake. Did you just carry that with you all the time? Yes.
My whole life.
Yeah, he's funny.
So great.
X-Force has a scene here when Mallus brings Damien back to life, and we hear the voice of Mallus for the first time.
Where is he?
Mallus is everywhere and nowhere, refracted in every moment of time. He is dead, he is risen, and he will come again.
Right, well, that's very cryptic, but I demand to speak to him.
Oh, very well.
Director Hunt, pleasure to meet you.
Oh, I'm not here to speak to your puppet. I think it's about time you and I met face to face.
You could not look upon my true form and live. While you are hopelessly mortal, I am God.
You're too late.
to be back.
Yeah, Damien's back, but that scene, like when he lifted straight up out of the coffin and everything, it was creep factor 101. It was really like, holy crap. And you imagine the people of that timeline seeing that would just make them all poop their pants for sure.
Yes, and it's it's technically, in my book, spooky season. So this was a good episode to be watching.
Yeah, for sure. And I love, like, this is the great thing, like we were saying about Courtney Ford. She dives into her role so much.
Oh, yeah. She's great.
Yeah. Oh, she's good stuff.
So good. I loved her performance this episode. So chilling. So good.
All right, your turn.
My turn. All right. I picked the final scene where Sara betrays Rip and the Time Bureau comes a-calling.
But we learned so much from the events of last night. Next time...
There won't be a next time, Rip. You show up out of nowhere, practically begging for our help, and then you betray us. You've gone rogue from every organization that you've ever been a part of, because you don't trust anyone. And I don't know how I could have ever trusted you.
But Sara, I need you with me now more than ever.
Do you remember when you told me you had nothing left to teach me? I guess you had one final lesson. How to be a cold son of a bitch.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Sara's had enough.
I know, and I don't blame her.
No. Why? I wouldn't either. How many times has he done this to them?
Exactly. Yeah. So I love this speech. It was good.
Yep. I do have a bonus one because we were talking about Mick and how great he was. I just love the Mick line in this clip. I'm going to play it and you'll know what I mean.
I'm alone out here. So what I'm hearing is your hot new girlfriend dumped you and now you're crawling back to your ex.
And I'm no one's side piece.
Yes. I have no one's side piece. Is that one we chose in the past?
Maybe. I don't. Oh, it is too. Yep. I called it a little Mick on the side.
Yeah.
When I used to come up with funny names for all our clips. Yeah.
I know. Oh God, I love that. That was funny. That made me laugh out loud. I was like, I know we've picked that in the past.
Good stuff. All right, we are going to pause for our ad break if there happens to be an ad here. So here we go. As we dance on screen and coming right up to episode 2, let's get into Helen Hunt.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
So Harley, I've got a very serious question for you.
Okay.
If you were to walk into a room and someone, I don't know if it's me, but if some guy just came up to you, threw his arm around you, smacked you on the butt and said, "Hey, toots," how would you react?
Probably punch him in the face.
That's what I thought.
I do remember that one. You said, "I'm going to ask you a question and I need your honest reaction."
Yeah.
And that was it. There was no acting involved.
Nope.
That's why I'm like, okay.
Well, that's based on the episode because I always wrote our intros based on what the episode had in it, right? So
you did, but I'm 99% sure that one was a surprise.
Yeah. But because Helen Hunt was a woman who walked in a room and all the men just took advantage as best they could, you know, that's that. Yeah, there you go. So.
That one I do remember.
Let's get into our ratings for this one. I'll read X-Force's rating this time. He gives Helen Hunt 8 times I wish we could have seen Wonder Woman. Helen of Troy, Hedy Lemar, and all the legend ladies. No wonder the guys were falling all over themselves. But would have killed them to show a glimpse of Wonder Woman when Zari took her to the island? Oh well, I thought this was a fun ep and really enjoyed getting to see Stein take the lead in Firestorm mode.
Yes. All right, well, I gave this one 8.5 epic fight scenes. Now, this is how you do a girl power episode without shouting #feminism the entire time. Well done, Legends writers. You get it.
They always got that part of it. If they had a message to say, they made it integral to the episode without actually shoving it down our throats.
Exactly.
Legends is good at that.
Exactly. I loved the subtlety of this episode,
Yeah.
showcasing its female characters and finding a way to save Helen from a terrible existence at the very end. It has a ton going on plot-wise, but it kind of all seemed to work well for me and flow together. Overall, very enjoyable. I liked it.
See, interesting. I agree with everything you said about the women characters, and they had a powerful episode and they worked well together. That stuff was all fun, but I'm only giving this one a 7 not so fond memories because I found this on the rewatch to be the first stumble of our rewatch season. I had a hard time getting through this one with a lot of enjoyment. They let the goofy kind of take over here, and it made, for me, the episode feel disjointed because the choreography was even off. Like, you could see there was too much cable work and the fight looking phony. I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay.
It had fun moments, you know, like there's some moments you'll see in our favorite clips with Jax and Stein I loved, and the moments with the ladies, and I loved the early stuff with the guys all falling over Helen of Troy and everything, but I just, for some reason, it did not strike me as an episode I was really having a good time with the second time around. I don't know, like it was fine, but I had much more fun in the first few we covered.
Yeah. Okay, That's fair. Yeah.
I don't know. And as we get in the notes, I'm gonna have to go totally off the cuff because I ran out of time to add notes. So
I'm noticing that these notes are a little bit more disjointed. I had a little bit less to say about this episode, for better or for worse. So,
well, that's another good point, Harley. I wrote 3 lines in my little notepad when I'm watching the episode. Return of the Mack was a full page of notes. This one I had 3 lines.
Yeah, this was one that I definitely watched through and then did notes later because I just wasn't finding. I was either gonna like stop and start every 30 seconds and write down way too much, or I just needed to like watch the whole thing through and then kind of like get my thoughts down. So, a couple of things to note at the beginning. I'll just kind of go here through it point by point, and then you can toss in whatever you want to toss in.
Yeah, sure.
Sara did the intro this episode, and we also had a really great black and white kind of like old-timey like movie style title card for the episode, which was pretty cool. I think this was one of the first times they actually changed the title card, which will become more happenstance later on.
I think you're right. This was the first time they did it, and I loved it. I loved it this time around because it is cool, and this is part of the season where they were still having fun and adding new things to the show that we enjoyed. It's just, I think the overall story through line, the plot line through the entire season is where it starts to get derailed. But the show itself, each episode, they were still having fun and still writing really well.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the entire premise of this particular episode is that people are fighting over Helen of Troy, who shows up in 1937 Hollywood, and she runs off with the rival studio head, which literally is supposed to mirror Helen of Troy running off with Paris and leaving Menelaus, which causes the Trojan War. Yes. And so, of course, this is the parallel that she runs off with the rival studio head and causes a bloodbath in 1937 Hollywood because, well, it's 1937 Hollywood and they're all insane.
and she's like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. Everywhere I go, I'm like, well, you quit jumping ship. Stay with where you're supposed to stay, and it might not happen. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong. If she didn't keep switching camps, that might not happen.
Yeah,
but she's not happy, and she wants to move on to greener pastures. Also, kind of nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that either. No, but it just seems. I mean, she obviously also has this power over men, which adds to the problems because she's known to be one of the most beautiful women of all of history, right? So.
Yes, they really play that up. The fact that she almost has like a hypnotic presence around men, which anyway, we could debunk that pretty quick, but we're just gonna leave that alone. So let's see. So the other focal point and big part of this episode was Hedy Lemar. Now, she was a very famous actress, but she was also incredibly brilliant. She was an inventor. She was very influential to technology development throughout the course of history. And I do remember we did kind of a deep dive on her in our original podcast coverage.
I remember that.
I remember her being really, really impressive. So if you want to learn more about Hedy Lemar, go dig up our original episode.
Yeah, because she like invented some kind of crazy radio technology and all this different stuff. And
yes,
it was unheard of for a woman at that time period to be not only do that, but to be allowed to do that. And she never really got the recognition for it either. So
no, she didn't. No, especially not at the time. But yeah. This is a complete tangent, but there's a really great book that kind of tackles a similar thing about a very brilliant woman scientist just being brilliant in the wrong era at the wrong time. But it's set in the 1950s instead of like the 1930s. So, things have come just like a little bit further. But it's called Lessons in Chemistry, and they're releasing an Apple TV show starring Brie Larson. In October. And so I know you don't really have like Apple TV, but you should look for it. Lessons in Chemistry.
We do.
It's so good. Oh, you do have Apple TV?
Yeah. Okay. Patty Spivot she's Apple everything. So
that's right.
Through her account, we have it. Yeah.
It comes out in October. The book is excellent. It's one of my favorite books. It's really, really good. So if you like a good, powerful woman scientist who doesn't take shit from anyone, you gotta check it out.
I gotta bleep that out now, Harley.
Sorry, forgot.
All right, where are we going on?
Where we want to go next?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's go on to this next point that Jeff has so kindly written out for us. Sara and Zari are going to get Helen, but she doesn't want to leave. She doesn't exactly understand how or why she has come to this future timeline, but she knows that she can learn it and she can figure it out and that it will work to her advantage much better than going back to where she came from. And then we learn in a subsequent scene that Damien Darhk is her agent.
No,
and yeah.
Like, does he, because he time travels and he knows that this is Helen of Troy out of her time and he can use her power and ability to get what he wants? Like, why is he there being her agent?
I think we must get this answer later, but I think he is also somehow tracking the anachronisms because him and the legends seem to show up in the same place at the same time.
That's right.
A little too often for it to be coincidence. So, yeah.
But I found it kind of, I guess impressive is the word, that Helen of Troy from thousands of years ago can so quickly amalgamate herself into this time period and Hollywood and movies and acting and all that stuff. Like, she seemed to pick it up really fast if she just got there.
I agree. It's a little bit of a stretch, but again, it's a sci-fi / whatever Legends really is TV show. But
it's fun.
I agree. It's fun, but a little quick. Definitely completely unbelievable. But then again, Helen of Troy showing up in 1937 Hollywood is literally unbelievable. So
it's not unlike when Caesar shows up and fights with Mick on the beach, and Caesar's like trying to get all the beach bums to be his new army. Like,
true.
I mean, these people are known in history to be the brilliant minds of that time. So to me, it's not that far stretched that they would figure things out quickly because that's why they're the leaders of their time.
Yeah. I agree. And they're, smarter than us. They don't have to rely on technology and all of these other things that have kind of made our brains go a little soft, to be honest.
Yeah, we're a bunch of dummies these days. We really are.
Yeah, by comparison. So, I mean, most of these people spoke a minimum of like 5 languages and could do oodles of arithmetic and math in their heads that like we struggle to comprehend with pencil and paper. So...
And I could ask you, what's my phone number? You'd be like, Martin. That's, I just look for your name.
Exactly. Yeah. The only phone number I have memorized is my husband's. That's it.
Yeah. I just have mine because you have to fill it in all the time. I only know my own cell phone number.
Yes. I mean, I know my own. Yes. But yes, I know mine and my husband's by heart. That's it. Everybody else is in my little phone book, and if it disappears, well, won't be able to contact anybody.
Yeah. You're not
Anyways,
there you go.
anyways, bit of a tangent there. We also learn that Nora and Kuasa are there with Damien, and we kind of, Kuasa and Amaya kind of get into it a little bit. They're at this party when they're introduced, and so Amaya doesn't understand why Kuasa has issues with her, but she will find out soon.
And this is when we just realized Kuasa's working with Nora and Damien, because we didn't know that up until this point, did we?
I mean, I think we're supposed to assume, and I don't remember if we put the pieces together, because we see Nora, but she's hooded in the end of episode 2, episode 1 of those episodes before Kuasa shows up. She shows up in Zari, but at the very end of episode 2, she rises out of the water. There's the lady in the hood with Woolstone.
That was Nora?
That was Nora. It has to be. I mean, we're supposed to put those pieces together, which hindsight, we can figure that out. But I don't know if at the time, if we put enough of those pieces together. So I don't remember if that was a surprise or not. But regardless, Amaya still has no clue who this woman is.
Right.
No.
Right.
Anyways, so of course, the legends fight over Helen and Hedy. There's a whole thing. Because Helen can't go anywhere without everybody starting a fight, and so our entire team is the people that start the fight. And then we have Jax / who is really Stein, sort of enamored with Hedy, and so there's like this whole lot going on. And in between all of that, while they're causing chaos, Damien and Sara off on the side trying to come up with some deal. I don't know.
Well, it was funny because Sarah's got, everybody's at their checkpoints, and she's got on comm. She's like, all right, Ray, can you do this? Mick, are you ready? Da-da. And she's like, hello? Fellas? And they're all, and then the camera switches to them, and they're all just already entranced. And it's just funny. Yeah. Men will be men. Can't help it.
True. We're going to leave that there. So Helen doesn't want to go with them. Chaos ensues. They regroup on the Waverider. Ultimately, the ladies decide it's a ladies' mission because the men can't be trusted. So they leave them on the ship, and they pull out a Trojan horse, or Trojan whores, as the case may be, to get Helen. I don't know if they're trying to capture her or whatever. I mean, they end up talking her into it, but yeah. So, I did find that quite funny when she says Trojan horse, and he's like, "Oh, you meant Trojan whores," and she slugs him. I was like, "Yes." So funny.
That's pretty funny.
But in the end, Helen, of course, doesn't want to go home, so Zari ends up looking for a loophole and delivers her to the right time, but a different location. So she ends up disappearing throughout the middle of the Trojan War, which has no impact to history. And so they drop her off in Themyscira in 1253 BC. Is that right?
And I remember us tearing into this, like, wait a sec, how does this work? If she doesn't return Helen back to her original time, doesn't that screw everything up? But no, because doesn't she eventually die or something happens to her during her time?
I don't remember the fate of Helen of Troy. As they said, it's part history, part myth, and so it gets a little wonky.
Yeah.
But according to the historical record, which I assume is real history, outside of the show, I'm certain the writers will look this up. That Zari says she disappears halfway through the war.
Yeah,
and
this is so that's why it makes this work. She's in the same year, but she disappeared, but she gets to live out her full life on Themyscira with warrior women who she was just practicing to be. It's perfect.
Yes. Exactly, because she's not anywhere else that she shouldn't be interfering with future events. She's just on the island of make-believe, basically.
Well, and the fact that Themyscira keeps to themselves, they're a secret from the rest of the world. Nobody knows about it. So Helen will never show up in the history books ever again because the island doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Man does not know about it. So,
which is why it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like this. I like that this introduces hacking history, which is Zari's version of searching for historical loopholes, because it becomes her entire purpose. Honestly, ultimately, it kind of becomes her downfall. And then as I was writing this, I came to the realization that season-wise, we actually end up spending more time with Zari 2.0, because Zari 1.0 only gets 2 seasons.
That's shocking.
And Z2 gets 5, 6, and 7.
Wow. And we loved Z1 so much, and they tore her away from us that early.
Yeah, and we get, because she disappears at the end of season 4. And so, I mean, we get annoying Zari in season 5. And then she kind of tones down in 6. And then in 7, she almost kind of becomes a little bit of a hybrid.
She becomes a hybrid, and we liked her better.
Which I liked better.
Yeah.
But this original one is still my favorite. So.
But the whole idea of hacking history, I mean, that's just cool, because that plays right into our whole time travel stuff that we love. To be able to look back on time and go, how could I go back there and do something without affecting it?
Yes.
It would be so cool. I would love to be a history hacker with the time.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
I know. Very fascinating.
Because I mean, something simple as if I know the lottery numbers or the winning horse in the the Kentucky Derby from 19 whatever, how does that affect anything if I go back and win myself the lottery or win myself a big payout at the horse track? It doesn't affect history. It's just money. It doesn't do anything.
But it takes it away from the person who should have won, and that might change the course of their entire life.
Maybe you pick a year because the lotteries don't always get won. So maybe you just pick one that never got claimed.
But then doesn't that money roll over?
Well, depending on the lottery, some do, some don't. I don't know. I mean, all it would really affect is the amount of money the next people win.
Yes, but that could change the course of someone's life.
It could.
See?
It could.
Gotta be careful about stepping on those butterflies.
Okay, well, how about winning a horse race? That's just a payout. Everybody wins. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about horse racing.
That's what I mean. So I would love to find loopholes somehow, some way. Like, say you knew in history that a bank truck, like a Brinks truck loaded with cash, disappears. And they never found it again. Well, okay, you go back in time to the point where it left its destination, or it left its thing, and you grab the money before it disappears. And hey, now you're set.
You're DB Cooper.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was just thinking.
Crazy.
Or
all right.
Claim a tropical island for yourself back in the day when nobody owned them, and, Russia and France and the United States are running around the world claiming their own island. You go claim one. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's my island.
Just find a little one in the middle of nowhere that nobody knows about, and you're good.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, we've got a couple other points here. So we're gonna jump into Firestein, which we actually get to see this episode.
Yes.
My bad. So, Ray is of course working with Stein and Jax to move all of Firestorm over to Jax. But in the end, something goes wrong, of course, which means that they switch bodies. So they get the chance to play each other, which was a very fun and a very hilarious. I thought the respective actors did an absolute great job playing each other, and I had completely forgotten this moment. And so it was kind of a pleasant surprise throughout the episode to watch them beat each other.
I forgot about it too, and when it happened, of course, we think of Freaky Friday. We think of
yes,
Freaky Friday is the one with Jamie Lee Curtis. Then there was the one Like Father, Like Son with Cameron. What's his name? The guy from not Who's the Boss, not Family Ties.
Kirk Cameron.
Kirk Cameron, thank you. What was the family comedy show he was on?
I don't remember the name of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was my favorite one of the bunch. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, but him and oh my god, I'm usually good with actors.
Gotta look it up. All right, I'm gonna look it up.
Anyway, Like Father, Like Son is the name of the movie, and it did the exact same body swap with son and father. Whereas Jamie Lee Curtis...
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, thank you. Dudley Moore.
Loved that show.
Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron was in Like Father, Like Son, which came out many years before Freaky Friday. So,
yeah, 1987.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, I loved Growing Pains. That was such a great show.
So did I.
Anyways, that was tangent. Where were we going with this?
We're tangenting a lot to make up a word.
I know. It's not good.
Ah.
We need Jeff. He keeps us on track. Okay, well, let's just jump to the next point. So, no time like the present.
We're not diving deep into these episodes this time around. We're just reminiscing.
I know, yeah, which takes us down memory lane in many different ways. Anywho, Hedy helps Firestorm with science, which was awesome. That was just kind of fun to see. And of course, they end up merging, which Stein was adamantly against. And they end up doing it, and we get to see Stein's face in Firestorm mode, which was kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
Because he has to take the lead since Jax is in his body, which was slightly confusing, but whatever. We're going to roll with it.
Yeah.
Because it was cool.
It was fun and it was cool, but the graphics were not good. They
weren't great.
Stein looked like his head was too small for the body they put him in. And
it looked like he was photoshopped onto it.
Yeah, it looked really bad. It was not good effects. So yeah, I was kind of taken out from it though a little bit there because of that. But yeah, and just to say what you were saying in the previous point, I didn't get to finish my thought. Is the two actors were so good at playing each other. I totally agree. It was fun. That was the best part of this episode.
It was a lot of fun.
Was them?
I had forgotten that bit, and it was cool to watch them do it again. Yeah. So I liked it.
Yeah, they did good.
Got a kick out of that. All right. Well, we've got a few points on Amaya before we delve into the remainder of the plot here. Ray obviously knows about Kuasa, and he tries to tell Amaya at a couple different points, and then ends up confessing to her later on.
And she already knew by then.
Yeah. So yeah, he's kind of toying with that because he's like, oh, I know this, but she shouldn't know this because she's from the past and I'm from the future, and it's like a whole thing. So she ends up opting not to hear more information from Ray when he finally confesses to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kuasa is Amaya's granddaughter, which we already knew and had, I think, even surmised because of the way that Kuasa speaks to Amaya. She gives us some pretty strong hints that she's related to her. So
yeah,
if we did not know that, it was not hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
But then, of course, they have this whole showdown in the cargo bay, which I thought was a really fun fight. So I kind of liked seeing them go toe to toe because Amaya I feel like she normally dominates, and she did not always have the upper hand in this fight. And so it was kind of good to just watch them go toe to toe. They're pretty evenly matched. In Kuasa, I mean, they each had the upper hand at different points. So
yeah, it's just a strange match. Water powers versus animal powers. It almost kind of, I'm kind of laughing because it almost felt like the Wonder Twins going against each other. Right?
That's funny.
Because
Yes.
So yeah, it pretty much was Wonder Twins fighting each other. But hey,
it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Probably have many years ago. I don't remember that either.
I don't either, but it sounds familiar. Anyway, so we'll move on to the plot thickens because just when we think we've got things wrapped up, we've got Helen of Troy safely away from Damien Darhk. Things start going wrong, really wrong. Because the Waverider is not working because parts of it are just literally disappearing because Hedy Lemar didn't become a star, which apparently is co-linked with her inventing things and doing amazing science stuff. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had an answer to that in the past, but
I don't think so.
I found that confusing.
But thinking about it now, it makes sense. Probably because of her fame as an actress, she had the money and the resources to put into her research to invent things. So she did. So because she didn't invent anything, which her technology led to advancements in the future, because she didn't start it, they lost a lot of that advanced tech here and now, and the ship started, like you said, parts were disappearing, and poor Gideon was shutting down.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, that was that. So let's see. The Darks stop Stein, who is really in Jax's body, so that gets confusing. Who's with Hedy, and then Sara calls Damien into a duel, which is kind of an interesting battle. So this we kind of have like this epic fight scene. There's parts of it that are good, and there's parts of it, like you said, that are bad. But overall, it is a pretty epic fight when you think about it at the end of the day. Because there's just so much different things going on, and they're also cutting in between Amaya and Kuasa at this point. So it's just like different points of the battle all going on in different areas. You've got Damien and Sara dueling, you've got Nora, you've got Firestorm, you've got Kuasa and Amaya, and there's just a lot happening. So,
and I think that's maybe why, like, I think there was too much happening where they couldn't really flesh it out a lot for each particular part to be done that well. I don't know. It was fine. It's just it wasn't one of their best big group fights. Is how I came away from it this time, and there's just a bit of cheese to it. Like everybody's throwing something at Nora, and she's catching it, and she's throwing it back, and it's like there's a bit of a cheese factor to it. So I wasn't as impressed this time.
Yeah. But it does kind of like showcase how powerful she can be.
That's true.
She single-handedly takes out the rest of the legends.
Yeah, so it made her a concern for sure because she's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also raises the question: is that her power, or is she channeling Mallus? Because like her eyes go kind of like all crazy. So
when they go black, I think Mallus is in control.
Yeah, I think so too. So that leads me to believe that it's more him than her. But I mean, she is a powerful witch, which gets a little bit confusing because it's like, I know that she has like all of these powers, but it doesn't seem like she's using her powers. It definitely seems like Mallus is channeling through her. Yeah. Or maybe he's using her capabilities. I don't know.
Or he's just heightening hers that she already has. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is also where Damien finally reveals that Nora is his daughter. And so it didn't take long. I couldn't remember how long it was until we found out. I thought for some reason we didn't find out until the Constantine episode, since she's featured in it as a little girl.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm actually surprised we got an answer this quick, because I didn't remember getting the answer this quick. So we clearly know who she is, and that's probably why we end up, using Constantine and going into that Asylum episode coming up here.
Right.
Next couple of episodes, I think.
Yeah, because they were working a way in, how are we going to get Constantine involved in this story? And they had to go to this dark demonology type of stuff to make him relevant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also true.
Now, the one question I had though, Damien, is he working with Mallus, like, willingly, knowing that Mallus is trying to take over his daughter and all that? I can't remember at this point.
I can't quite remember. There is a connection because
Mallus brings him back to life, so he's got to feel obligated to him for some reason, right?
Yeah, and I think we get these answers eventually this season, but yeah, there's a whole side thing with like him and his family and this whole order of the shrouded compass or whatever it was. And they definitely kind of
compass, that sounds scary.
I know. So they definitely kind of like use it to their advantage, but I can't quite remember the full story. So we'll get it in bits and pieces here. So
okay. Alrighty, well, that's all we got for Helen Hunt. Let's get to our favorite scenes for this episode.
Shape out an eagle!
And you are up first.
I am, and I called this one, Oh, Pancakes. It Must Be Tuesday.
Marty, you okay?
A little bruised, Dr. Palmer, but I'll live.
Wait, what? Everything hurts. Whoa! Ooh. Look at my hands. They're white.
And mine appear to be African American.
You can just say black, Gray.
You're me and I'm you?
Oh, pancakes.
Attention, Legends. Captain Lance requests that all personnel report to the bridge immediately.
Guess we know where the explosion came from.
What happened?
Yes. Pray tell, Dr. Palmer, what exactly happened to us? Because it seems we are in a particularly precarious situation that I, for one, have no idea how to remedy.
Why don't we just merge?
Out of the question, absolutely not. We have switched bodies. Who knows what else may have shifted? Merging now could cause a meltdown of insurmountable proportions. We just can't afford the risk.
You're the professor, and you're Jax.
Must be Tuesday.
It just made me laugh. I loved the showcase. I love the two of them being like switching bodies, and I think this really like kind of highlights them playing each other. It was very funny, and I'm pretty sure that in this season Legends was airing on a Tuesday night, so that's why must be Tuesday.
Must be Tuesday because things are getting quirky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that made me laugh.
Well, I'm continuing the theme of Jax and Stein. I've got a clip here as well, which is later in the episode, and this clip definitely is like, wait, it's like, this might not be a family episode because the jokes are pretty, 18A kind of stuff. Here it is.
It's called arthritis. And just so you know, I don't enjoy being inside you any more than you enjoy being inside me. What did I... Don't be so puerile.
Come on, Gray. Don't pretend like you weren't having the time of your life at that party.
I don't catch your meaning.
Telepathic link? Let's just say I can tell if you weren't married, you and Miss Lemar would be doing the nasty and the pasty.
Nasty and the... I'll have you know that Miss Lemar is my hall pass.
Clarissa gave you a freebie?
It was her idea. Something to spice up our marriage. She picked Jean-Claude Van Damme, and thinking the whole exercise ridiculous, I chose Hedy Lemar, never thinking I'd actually get the chance.
Why? Because she's dead? She's not dead here, you dog.
I love how he says, you dog. Mr. Garber playing Jax is just the best thing ever.
The nasty pasty. The what? They are definitely good, those two. Yeah, that was fun. X-Force wraps it up with the final scene with Zari dropping off Helen. Here it is.
Okay. According to the historical record, you disappeared halfway through the war, but that didn't affect the war itself. So, I found you a loophole. Same time that you're from, just a different place. Huh. Hacked history.
This isn't Troy.
Nope. It's an island full of warrior women. It's cool, right?
Would your comrades be mad at you?
Yeah, they would be. But they knew what they were getting when they brought me on.
No, thank you. You've changed my destiny.
Best thing about this place? No boys allowed. You'll finally have some peace and quiet.
Yeah, that's how it ends.
I know. It was a great scene. I would have picked it if he hadn't.
Yeah. I thought it was cool that we got Themyscria on our Legends show. Like, really? Wow, that's pulling a pretty deep and strong DC.
Yeah,
place.
it was a deep cut for sure.
Yeah.
was
like
good.
something that means a lot.
I know, yeah, but it was cool. I like that they wove that in as a little Easter egg. So
Yeah, totally. If we had seen Wonder Woman, it would have been just the best. But who knows where Wonder Woman is at 1258 BC or whenever this is? Like, I don't think she's alive yet.
I know. I don't think so either, but still cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, after that, let's remind everybody about our Patreon support. It is awesome to have you guys continue to support the show while we come at you with as much content as we can. Here you go.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
It's feedback, your time to speak up. Believe it or not, what you think and you say means a lot to us. But why should we sit here and wait if you won't hurry up? So feedback or simply shut up.
Yes, feedback. And we actually have a little bit of feedback tonight. We got an email from Comic Geek Kev. You want me to read it, Harley?
No, I don't care.
You don't care? All right. Good morning, Legends. I'm sure that I watched every episode of this show, but I have to say I don't remember episode 5 at all, which is surprising because so much happens. The return of Damien and Darhk, the introduction of Nora, more info on Mallus and Rip's downfall. How can I not remember this one? I suppose it's possible I somehow missed it, but maybe the latter season's awful episodes drove this one from my meager brain. It was pretty darn good. I was surprised that Zari's totem worked for Nora. I thought they were more keyed to members of the families. Maybe because Nora is so magical? Just curiosity for me. I guess that's a good question. Maybe she's just able to control all the totems because of her magical ability.
Yeah, I feel like anybody can wield a totem, but I feel like they more or less belong to the certain families, which is why Zari could rip hers back.
Right. Okay. Episode 6, I do remember. Who can forget the Jax Martin body swap? The story is kind of a hit and miss for me. Those types of things.
I forgot it.
What's that?
To me, I forgot it.
Yeah. Those types of things always are. Playing a character who is another character can't be easy. And the confusion for the crew, Jax, never comes off authentically, but still some great scenes and enjoyable enough. Still hanging on to the better characterizations, and so far, no, he cannot Bebo named, so it can't be all bad. You snuck it in there.
Not till episode 9.
I give episode 5 an 8.5 out of 10. Traitorous wind totems, and episode 6 a 7.5. Bathroom breaks. Until next time, Comic Geek Kev. Yeah, so yeah, that's right. There was a line in here about when Jax was in Stein's body, and he's like, I have to pee all the time, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks, Comic Geek Kev, for being with us for this. And we got a Perry White voicemail for this rewatch. Let's see what he says.
Hey, Legends. Perry White here with feedback for Legends of Tomorrow Season 3 episodes Return of the Mack and Helen Hunt as part of our rewatch. And I'll just go ahead and start by saying this. One of the benefits of getting older and sort of having the opportunity to forget the things that you should remember. Return of the Mack was an incredibly surprising episode because I went into the episode totally flat-footed, not having any idea what to expect.
Us too.
So when Nora comes walking into the room, I totally freaked out because I had wholly forgot that's how she was introduced to us in this show. So when I saw her, my jaw hit the ground and I sort of like openly screamed. It's like, there's freaking Nora.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's just be honest about all this, right? Courtney Ford is an absolute fantastic, stunning woman, and it's never a bad thing when she is on screen. But yeah, I was just like totally excited and geeked out over that moment. And speaking of other moments that totally caught me by surprise, I forgot that it was Damien Darhk and that basically that tub of goo who was being resurrected.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I can't remember at all upon, thinking about the first time I saw it. I can't remember if I was spoiled going in and knew that it was going to be Damien who was going to be resurrected, or if it was just a situation where I was totally just as surprised then as I was surprised now. But basically, when they opened that thing and revealed it was Damien, again, I was totally freaking shocked because I had no freaking idea. I totally forgot about that resurrection plot line. So that was just cool and fun to see. And I really like the sort of Halloween vibe of this episode. And I went back and saw that this episode sort of aired maybe the week or so after Halloween, which I think was probably a travesty. This should have been significantly a Halloween episode. Should have aired same week as Halloween or the week before Halloween. So to come after it's kind of strange. Speaking of Halloween vibes, man, I really, really love the sort of look and feel for when Nora was possessed by Mallus. Her red eyes look freaking great. The sort of static, sort of possessed technique and special effects that they use for those scenes, man, I thought that was really cool, and it was kind of shocking and scary at the same time, man. I thought they did like a fantastic job with this episode. And I also, switching gears a little bit, it's sort of the Jax and Stein and Ray storyline sort of brought into focus what we all were, I don't know if we were anticipating or expecting it at this time of the season during the initial watch, but obviously it sort of crystallizes them setting up the storyline of Stein leaving the show. I mean, the breadcrumbs were always there, and it's just like it was really cool to see how they've used Victor Garber in this season, probably knowing and understanding that they weren't going to have him the entire time. So they basically said, hey, man, we're going to let you do a lot of stuff here. And anytime on the show when they say, hey, we're going to let you do a lot of stuff, it's usually because they're getting rid of you or you have to leave. And so while it's incredible seeing Victor Garber do and have these incredible opportunities to be on screen, it's obviously bittersweet knowing that it's going to be coming to an end. All right, let's switch gears with Helen Hunt. And speaking of end, one thing I will never forget, even though I've forgotten a lot about what happened during the season, it's hard to forget how Zari hacked time and sent Helen of Troy to Themyscria. Being selfish, you just always sort of wish that they'd had more opportunities to explore on what that would have been like, but we knew that this show couldn't be getting into the Amazons and Wonder Woman lore, so it's like, hey, here's a nice little Easter egg, and I thought that was really cool and a lot of fun.
Totally.
The other thing that I really liked about this episode was how and the show has always done a really good job of letting its women be front and center, and so seeing Sara and Zari and Amaya sort of be front and center in this episode, along with a guest star who was playing Helen, it was just really cool and really nice to sort of see organically how they could take the lead in this episode and just have it feel like sort of natural and organic and not forced. And I really enjoyed that. And of course, obviously, I can't forget about the role of Hedy Lemar in this episode too. It's just like a really, really cool woman-centric episode without beating you over the head with it. And I thought it was really cool. So far, I have really enjoyed season 3. And to be quite honest, thinking about it, season 3 was a really, really, really strong season up until they did the you-know-what with you-know-who shall remain nameless because I don't want Martin to get upset. Anyway, this has been Perry White, probably rambling more than usual because I did not prepare any notes. this feedback has totally been sort of stream of consciousness, because I just watched the episode the night before I recorded. But I am incredibly interested in hearing what other folks have to say about this rewatch. And also, I will be needing some guidance. I'm pretty sure you guys will be posting how we should be doing feedback when it gets time to do the crossover. Are we going to do the crossover, all 4 episodes, as a singular thing? Or are we just taking the Legends of Tomorrow episode by itself? I really would appreciate some insight and some sort of guidance on how we're going to do that. Anyway, this has been Perry White, making a deadline. I'm trying to make a habit out of it. I'm in much better health, so I will try not to miss many more. I'm out.
Yeah, man. He actually missed a couple of Mandalores there. He sounded like he really got into some deep water there health-wise. So glad you're feeling better, Perry.
Yes.
Glad to have your thoughts on here and reminiscing this trip down memory lane with us, because it's fun.
It is fun.
It is, and he's enjoying all the same stuff that we're enjoying, and had some very good points. But to reiterate, to answer his question, feedback for the crossover, even though it's 4 episodes, we're going to concentrate on the 4th episode, but we will probably talk loosely about all 4 of them, just in regards to the story it leads into the 4th episode where our legends join it. So by all means, watch the crossover. It's highly regarded as the best one that the Arrowverse did. So watch it, enjoy it, send us your thoughts on the whole thing. I mean, there's no other time to get to talk about it again, because it happened years ago. No one's going to revisit that and talk about it. So we will here. If you want to send us some feedback and share your thoughts about what you thought of the crossover, go ahead. We'll just make it part of the show. We got nothing else to talk about. So
yeah. Don't be too upset when I harp on Stein dying, but it's something I can't forgive the writers for.
Yeah.
And they put the breadcrumbs on the table for him to leave the show the whole time, and that's why I'm mad that they killed him. They knew it was coming. Wasn't a surprise.
Yeah. We'll have to see how we all feel when that point comes again.
I know.
It's going to be emotional. Like, it's, because we've had Stein with us for a long time, but yeah. So there you go. Feedback for all of it. It'll be okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And how to do that? This is what you do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Yes, and our community is awesome. You guys are continually posting stuff on the Facebook page. That's where most of the action takes place. So remember to join up, sign up, or whatever if you're not already, because there's lots of fun stuff happening there. And if you're checking out the videos, like I forgot to say in the news, Jess, I know I talked to you guys privately, but our videos are getting way more views than I ever thought they would. Like they're all up over 30 views now. For our Superman and Lois covers. Like, whoa. And this is long after the show's finished, so
that's cool.
I thought we might get 5 to 10 maybe, but over 30, I'm surprised. So I'm really curious if it's people discovering us on YouTube, or if it's podcast listeners going, hey, I want to see what they look like and what's their podcast studio looks like, and they're just checking it out. Like I'm curious, and I don't know if on YouTube I can track that, if I can find out who watched or listened or when, and I don't know.
You can't find out the who. Most analytics are very good about blinding the who, but they'll give you insight into like where they came from. Did they come from YouTube? There's lots of stats you can dig into. So,
well, I know I'm behind on releasing the last couple for these Legends Rewatch. I haven't released the videos for those yet, but I will get to it. It's just the video editing side of it. Oh my god, it's time consuming. Like you think editing the audio for this show takes time? The video, it's because I made it so fancy is what takes so much time, because I got the spaceship graphics on there and the border and the flying star field and the names flying in and out and all. Oh my god! And because we don't do feedback at the exact same time in the show every week, I have to move. No. I have to move all the graphics back and forth in the timeline to match, and it's no. like tonight we recorded for 2 hours. It takes me probably 5 hours to edit that video.
Ooh.
So it's a lot of work, guys. So I'm also trying to do it for Mandalore, and I have not had time to get to Mandalore or Ahsoka either because it's just too much.
Oh God, that's a lot.
Yeah. So fun idea, but wow, did I put a wallop of time commitment on myself with that? So
yeah, that's the downside.
But it seems to be like 30 views on a TV show that finale'd months ago. Hey, whatever.
Hey, that's not bad.
So yeah. Yep. And we were on Libsyn's The Feed this week too. I asked them a question about the YouTube stuff, and they had like a 5-minute long answer to my question. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been on there a few times, but I get on under various different names.
Yeah.
Or sometimes as name redacted. Yeah.
Oh, are you? You're one of those redacted people?
Yeah, I've been on there twice because I'll come up with a question and I'll just email Rob directly, and I forget to remember to give him permission to use it on the feed, and so they have to redact my name because I haven't given permission.
Right. I always
even
say,
though I don't care.
You don't care. Yeah, I always tell them it's Martin Flash Cyber choose what you want kind of thing.
Choose what you want.
Because he listens to the Mandalore podcast. He actually listens to that one. So
that's true.
He knows me as Cyber but they just keep saying Martin. It's just Martin. It's Martin that. So
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's just neat. Like they're very helpful to help us figure out our podcasts and stuff. It's a helpful show. I know our listeners won't find anything interesting in it for them. It's a podcast made for podcasters.
Yeah, not unless you're a podcaster and you host on Libsyn in particular.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's a lot of idle chatter nobody probably cares about other than we were on it. So
very cool.
But we should do a new trailer. That's what we should do. A new trailer.
Okay.
I'll write something. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us. Remember, we'll come back in 2 weeks for episode 7 and 8.
That's right.
Talk to you guys then. This is The Flash. Signing off. Bye, YouTube.
And this is Harley Quinn. Bye.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.